All right, TSL, let's get it. Welcome to another episode of The Sales Life. I'm your host, Marsh, and the sales life is just not for those in the sales profession. It's for those who are building the life skills of selling, because we're all selling our way to, through, and from something in life. So each and every episode, we transfer the skills that we learn by the profession, and we transfer those skills because selling is a transferable skill, and we transfer those skills into your personal life as well. So that way, dude, you never settle again. So happy to be back with you. And I want to talk about somebody who she's really carved a name for herself in the podcast world. Her name is Hala Taha. You got a cool name. And she is no stranger to adversity. But getting there in a short amount of time in the podcast realm, she's known as the Palestinian princess in the podcast realm. And she is a tour de force. And she has interviewed, in a short amount of time, she has interviewed some of the best and brightest in the world. And although her time in the podcast realm in the podcast world hasn't been very long, the path it took her to get there has been tough, to say the least. So she was working, and she's told this story. She was working at Hot 97 as an intern, and she was an up and coming. She had her own internet radio show, and she was interviewing some of the best, the best of the best of the hip hop stars, Drake, all kind of people. And suddenly she was fired. And not only was she fired, but she was blacklisted from the industry. So she couldn't find any work. And one thing that's in the fabric of her making is when situations hit her, she becomes self-taught. And so if there's not a path, she'll create one. And she has this thing where she becomes self-educated. And if someone is in her path, she'll actually educate herself to go around that person. And so because she was fired, wrongfully fired, and because she was blacklisted, she had to figure out what to do from there. So she taught herself how to be a blogger, and she started blogging. And she amassed a huge following. And the following was so great that it drew the attention of the MTV executives. So much so that they were right there about to give her her own reality show. But then sometimes life can be a little cruel. And what seemed like it was going to be her big break, the MTV executives pulled the plug. And they canned it. She was crushed. Again. But I wouldn't be talking about Hala Taha if that's the end of the story. It's not. And I love the rebounders. I love the people who get hit and somehow find a way to bounce, not just back up, but they end up bouncing higher. So she was recently interviewed by Steve Olsher in Podcast Magazine. And she said something that really struck me. She said, one thing that you have to remember when you have to start over, and her saying, I've started over many times. But when you start over, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. And one thing I want you to realize is the tremendous advantage that you have over so many other people. because you're not this person that's coming straight out of college, straight out of high school. They have no experience. They have nothing. And I know in the over part, you think that, oh my God, I have to start over. Yes, you're starting over, but it's not at zero. Dude, you're like at a plus 50, a plus 100. And many times, man, we don't realize that because we think, because the circumstances are brand new, because the one chapter, here's what I want you to understand. The chapter is over, but damn it, the book's not finished. And you've got to continue to work. And you've got to leverage the experiences that you have and continue to write your book. Because the ink that you write it in is done in your effort. And I want to help you in to rechannel this. If you're starting over in a job, if you're starting over in a relationship, you're starting over, but you're not at the starting line. You're not at zero. You're way ahead. But you got to focus on that. So I'm going to help you with 4 leverages that you can take stock in and remind yourself and carry yourself forward. Because remember, this podcast, these episodes are so that you never settle again. And the way that you never settle again is you got to keep selling. So let's rock out. Leverage 1. Starting over, leverage 1. The first question when you have to start over is, I want you to take stock in what skills did you develop that you didn't have before. I can't tell you, it's innumerable of the number of skills that I've learned from selling. How to communicate better, how to be consistent, how to be tough, how to be mentally tough, how to be creative when I don't have what's in stock, how to be able to handle the criticism, not only the internal criticism, but the external criticism as well. How do I handle those? And so what I want you to do is, as you move forward in this new endeavor, in your starting over phase, is I want you to take just a few minutes and really seriously write them down. And what skills did I not have before I walked into that previous job, that previous situation? But while I was there, oh my God, I learned this, this, and this. Starting over, leverage number 2. These are all leverages because I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience. Starting over, leverage number 2. This is key. You don't have to stay in the same field that you're in. Sometimes this is what life is telling you. And many times when you have to start over in a career, what's the first thing you do? This is the only thing I know. No, it's not the only thing that you know. It's the only thing that you think that you know. It's the only thing that you're comfortable with. And so we stay. Think about relationships. We stay in the familiar. Why do I keep getting the same old person? Because you keep choosing that same kind of person. You don't stay in that same field. Why can I not advance in my life? Because probably you keep gravitating toward the same fields. I had a buddy of mine. He left the restaurant industry. You know the first job he went to go do? He kept bouncing from place to place to place for another restaurant. And he didn't want to be in the restaurant industry. He hated the long hours. He's like, I've given my whole life to the restaurant industry. But he broke rank. And for some reason, man, the doors just wouldn't open for the restaurant. Sometimes that's what God is telling you to do. He will not open up a door for you. Because life has a strange way. Life is not going to pave the road for you, but she will create a path. But you got to recognize it. In the path, dude, I can barely see it. I could barely walk down it, but I see an opening. Take it. And so the fact that you have to start over, and now that you've, number one, you know what skills that you've developed. These are your assets, man, that nobody can take from you. They can take your title. They can't take your skills. So as I move forward into this new realm, push off into the unknown, into the uncertain. That might be what life is telling you to do anyway. Look, dude, you already took the L. You already took your ego's already bruised, right? You're already fired, let go, starting over. The hard part's out of the way. Now it's the easy part because the bar is now lowered in some sense, and you're actually going to have a sigh of relief. And now you can push forward into a new skill. Number 3, starting over leverage. Number 3, what skills do you possess now that can be adapted and improved into your new situation? This is important. Think of yourself as an old car. And so the old car that you are, they take some of it when they come out with new models. Don't think for a second that they don't have some of the old stuff into the new stuff. So they've adapted and improved on the newer model coming out. But some of the things that are tried and true, the frame is good. And that's what you got to realize. So you're starting over leverage. Number 3 is the skills that you've possessed. I can't tell you what a tremendous advantage. There are skills that you possess, that you have developed from the previous gig, from the previous circumstances, that people would kill to have. And there are people, management, that you will work for. They don't have those skills. You do. And it's not to brag and boast. It's the fact that I'm that old car in a new model with a new lease on life. And now what I can do is I can adapt and improve and apply into your new situation. And number 4, starting over leverage. Number 4, I want you to be a ranger, not a sniper. Maybe one reason why you ended up out of your position was because you became too much of a specialist. You became a sniper. And so you stayed in this little bitty box, this little bitty area. And there was new things that were happening, that were available, opportunities. But yet you were too busy protecting your little space that you have. And so as time went on, you came into your field, and it was broad at first, and then it got small. So I want you to think in ranges. Being that you already took the L, this is your opportunity now to play wide, play vast. And look, you're gonna have some specialties. You're gonna have some specializations naturally. There are special circumstances in sales that I am geared for, and they bring me those circumstances. I'm a natural specialist at that. Bring it to me. Let's go. And so they say, Marsh, this is your kind of customer. This is your kind of deal. We only need you to do that. That's cool. But I don't shut out all the other opportunities and possibilities that are there. And so now that you're playing forward, now that you know what kind of skills that you possess, now that you realize that you can not have to stay in the same field, and now you can adapt and improve. Now I can keep it wide and vast. I keep my specialties, but also apply other ones. Let me tell you something. My demotion may be become a ranger, because I was demoted. I lost my coveted title of general sales manager. Best thing ever. Best thing ever. I thank God for it. Because what it enabled me to do is I just played wide open. Literally wide open. vast. And so I wasn't trying to protect this title. And there were areas that I didn't even know how to do anymore. But I hid behind the title. I'm the general sales manager. I got people for that. Hiding. So now, many years later, what is it? 5 years later, I have so many more range of possibilities and opportunities. Hence the sales life. All because of that. Because it keeps you in a range. I think, man, that you're going to find as you go back and listen to this episode, don't let the over, man, crush you. Don't let it sideline you. Don't accept what is, because you're not necessarily, you're just starting again. That's how you have to think about it. And so take stock in these things and never settle again. And you're going to find that there's going to be a sense of peace. There's going to be some scary times. There's going to be some dark times. There's going to be some times that your mind's going to tell you to turn back. Don't. Push forward. If you just look at these 4 things right here and you hug that list right there, you're going to be fine. And you're not going to be a failure. And you're never going to settle again. What would you add to this list? I want to hear from you. If you're watching this on the replay, on the live, on the video, leave me your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you hear this on the podcast, DM me or tag me in a post with the link to the show. And let me know your thoughts on that. Be sure and join the Sales Life Sales Edition. That's strictly for those in the sales profession. That's one podcast. And then the other podcast is the Sales Life. And a new episode came out on Wednesday, and it was about not giving 100%. I don't want you to give 100%. I want you to give 41 on your way to 100. And I hadn't lost my mind, man. But listen to the episode. It's only about 10 minutes long. So remember, the greatest sale that you will ever make is the sale you on you, because you're more than enough. Stay amazing. Stay in the sales life. Thanks, Nat. Thanks so much for tuning in, man.